In the 5th year after the Hijrah, the city of Medina faced an existential threat. A massive confederation of enemy tribes, known as the Ahzab, began marching across the desert. This was an army of over 10,000 heavily armed soldiers, and their stated goal was the complete eradication of the Muslim community. This visualization shows the severe numerical disadvantage facing Medina. On one side, the 10,000 troops of the Ahzab. On the other, barely 3,000 individuals available to defend the entire city. Facing an army more than 3 times their size meant that marching out for a traditional open-field battle would guarantee their destruction. At the time, Arabian warfare relied entirely on mobile, open-field cavalry charges and direct hand-to-hand combat. To survive, they needed a completely different approach. Salman Al-Farsi, a companion from Persia, proposed a strategy the Arabs had never seen: digging a khandak, a massive defensive trench. This map shows how the trench altered the battlefield. A deep chasm across Medina's northern border blocked advancing cavalry, forcing a static siege. The Prophet Muhammad recognized its strategic value, and his approval unified the community around this immense undertaking. They realized they could not survive a traditional clash. Success depended on preventing the enemy from ever crossing into the city. The logistics were daunting. Intelligence indicated the Ahzab would arrive in roughly 2 weeks. The defenders had exactly 15 days to excavate miles of solid rock and packed desert earth. They undertook this massive excavation during a severe, freezing winter. Food supplies dwindled to almost nothing. The physical toll was so extreme that men tied heavy stones against their stomachs to suppress the sharp pains of starvation. Through it all, the Prophet dug right alongside them, breaking rocks and carrying earth. When the 10,000-strong Ahzab army arrived, their massive cavalry charge was completely neutralized. They stood at the edge of a deep chasm, entirely paralyzed. Weeks of brutal labor and sacrifice had successfully stalled the greatest military force in Arabian history without a single sword crossing in an open field. What followed was a relentless tactical stalemate. Muslim archers held the Faygram behind the trench, unleashing a steady barrage of arrows. Then, a devastating internal crisis struck. Within the city's borders, the tribe of Banu Qurayza broke their peace treaty with the Muslims. This treason exposed Medina's southern rear. The defenders were suddenly facing the prospect of an immediate ambush from behind their own lines. This exposure posed a severe threat to the women and children. They were sheltering in high-walled stone forts, dangerously close to this newly opened front. While the physical trench held the invaders at bay, the sudden betrayal from within turned the siege into a severe test of psychological endurance. The conditions reached a breaking point. The defenders were surrounded, freezing, starving, and now betrayed from within. Every military and physical option was completely exhausted. In this darkest hour, the Prophet turned completely to Allah. He prayed fervently, demonstrating absolute, unwavering trust in divine protection when human efforts had reached their limit. The response came not as an army, but as a severe winter storm. A sudden, fierce wind tore through the desert valley, whipping sand and debris into a blinding frenzy. The violent winds struck the Ahzab camp with terrifying force. Tents were ripped from the ground, fires were extinguished, and the enemy's morale completely shattered. The siege collapsed. Abu Sufyan ordered a chaotic retreat into the night. Shortly after, the defenders marched out to secure their southern border and neutralize the treason of Banu Qurayza. The trench stalled the enemy, but it was divine intervention that delivered the decisive blow, arriving exactly when human endurance could go no further. Centuries later, the survival of Medina offers a vital lesson for families navigating the challenges of modern life. The trench successfully delayed the enemy advance, but the community's patience was what allowed them to endure the long siege. When confronting overwhelming odds, the directive remains the same. We must be willing to do the grueling work of digging the trench, while holding fast to an unshakable faith in Allah's timing. Enduring success requires both. We exhaust our human effort, unite our communities, and place our trust in the divine.